All right, guys. So, letting you guys know, you guys have shown so much love towards the Let's Be Honest videos that we've been making here as of late. We're going to be making them a lot more. I'm going to start bringing in basically guest hosts that are going to be able to not only share their specific opinion on different subject matters, but I also want to get certain insights and certain expertises, because we're going to be talking along with people that have, like, marketing degrees. We're going to talk with people that have, get developer degrees and such. And we're going to get different perspectives because, let's be honest, honesty is needed right now for these projects to succeed. And some of these things we say might offend people. Some of these things we say might honestly offend, the developers might not like it, but some of the stuff that we're going to say is quite frankly going to be true. And this entire video series is based around saying the truth of what the people feel, what we feel as a community, so our voices are heard and so shit gets done. Check it out. Where do you want to start? Hit me with it.
I'll follow your lead, mate, but I think we should definitely begin with Fault and SMS because right now that is like the bread and butter of the para-zombies.
Yeah, I can see that. And, well, you know what? Hold on. Let me actually pick your brain real quick since we're starting here.
Go for it.
What do you mean SMS is the bread and butter of the para-zombies? Could you elaborate on that?
Fault and SMS, because Fault is SMS. So mainly just Fault is the bread and butter because servers are open 24/7, Everything else, apart from OverPrime, but I don't really see OverPrime as a competitor, even though a lot of people prefer it. It's way too arcadey for me. It's literally like Paragon meets anime in an arcade cabinet. So a lot of people, they're holding out for like Predecessor, Ethereal, Fault to get better, and Core, if that's actually going to be a thing. I think they're doing their own assets or something now, but
they decided they're no longer going to be a para-zombie, so to speak. Yeah, they decided to go on their own. Okay, interesting, because I'll say this, being realistic, and I still support all the projects, but I can't help but notice that in every single one of my videos where either Predecessor gets mentioned, Fault gets mentioned, or anything like that, somebody is always in there. At least one or two people, usually, always in there saying, yo, you should try OverPrime. Have you played OverPrime? You should try Grim on OverPrime. You should do this on OverPrime. OverPrime looks way better. I literally just had a comment here posted yesterday, and I'll read this out to you. The comment says, when I look at how good OverPrime is for free compared to Fault, it just makes Fault look more and more disappointing. OverPrime is a better game in almost every way. It just doesn't have as many players as it should. OverPrime has more heroes, better card system, both maps, and I can snipe faces with a long distance rock throw from my boy Rampage. So, I read a comment like that and I'm like, okay, so there's some of these things are opinion, some of these things are fact, but I can definitely see where they're coming from. And there's a bit of a misconstrued statement there. OverPrime is free, but I couldn't help but mention, I'm like, yes, but you got to be mindful, Predecessor and Fault are also free to play. If it's not uncommon for a free to play game to have a paid early access to help support and boost the production of the game in itself. But you got to be mindful, Fault is still aiming for Q1 free to play access for everybody. So if they stick to that plan, that literally means that Fault is only a paid early access for what, 6 months? Half a year? That's not a long time for an early access, being realistic when we look at it that way. And then when they look at it doesn't have as many players as it should, is accurate. I'll tell you, I'm a person that daily, if I can get an OverPrime game in, I will, mainly for the fact that I want to continue the testing. I want to continue providing support, feedback, and such. But every single day before I start on Fall, before I start on doing whatever I'm doing, I log in to OverPrime to see, and I would say not even 9 times out of 10, 99% of the time, it's always empty. Like literally 0 people in queue. Like it's almost depressing because if you go into the game, if you actually walk around, use the abilities, the game is pretty good. Like, yeah, it has its flaws and everything, but as far as progression has come, I can tell you, right, like I literally just tried this game with Kick the other day, like literally maybe like within the week. And right now, OverPrime is a way better game than it was a month and a half ago or 2 months ago at the same time as the release of Fall. Because I tried it 2 days before the release of Fall. And I was like, yo, I'd rather fucking wait for Fall. So I can tell you it's a huge difference now. But OverPrime does have more heroes than all these remakes. Better card system, that's objective, you know? Like some people might like one or the other. I can tell you that the Predecessor card system that's coming out also is actually pretty unique. It's not bad. Some of the effects and stuff like that are cool. They got a lot of balancing to go down the road. I've gotten a chance to play it. They do have 2 maps. Now, it's not that hard to create a map. Like, Predecessor's already been through like 2 or 3 maps. Now, let me actually ask you there. Do you think map quantity matters?
You mean decoration and foliage, or do you mean intricacy in jungles and lane design?
Well, let's just look at let's talk about it a little bit more macro, right? Let's just say, regardless of how much detail and thought has been put out into a map, do you think it's important to have more than 1 map in a game? Like, for example, how OverPrime has Monolith and Legacy. Predecessor made the original Legacy, and then they restructured it to be a Monolith / Legacy mix, similar to Fault in their own way, right? But they, like, Fault and Predecessor are still sticking to only 1, when they easily could have multiple maps.
Yeah. Okay, so for traditional 5v5 3 lanes, I believe that MOBAs should just have the 1 map, unless there is something different, i.e. a new game mode. So the difference between Legacy and Monolith is like Monolith is just traditional MOBA lanes, and Legacy had the dunk mechanic with all prime. So obviously if they changed it a little bit, I think it could work as 2 separate game modes. I think that would work. I don't think it's good having more than 1 map, like on CS. I don't think it's good to have like a map pool. It's not good because there's no need for it. Okay, the map in Fault right now is unbalanced because like one team has an advantage over the other team because their red jungle is closer to Raptors. Okay, that shouldn't exist. And
I gotcha.
More maps, there's no need to have more maps because unless it's a different game mode, why would you need more maps? I do believe there should be an ARAM map, and I do believe there should be a different game mode.
Like a 2v2 or 3v3 or something like that. Probably.
Yeah.
So sure. I'll say this. I agree with you as for the fact that, like, you know, per game mode, I wouldn't want different maps just basically because that provides inconsistency. And that's literally 2 different metas that you have to learn because it's 2 different maps that you have to get used to. So 1 map per game mode for sure. Now, I want them to do like an ARAM map or just like a single lane with side jungles 3v3 map. That would be dope. Or a
dual map.
Yeah, or something like that. That would be awesome. And which actually is a great segue into this. Like, the issue is honestly just the player base, to be honest, man. Like, it's one of those things that they easily could create those maps in the game modes for both Fault and Predecessor, but they're not because they already have a small population, right? And I think that that's something that OverPrime might have suffered for because they had pretty good traction whenever it was just a single map. But now that there's 2 maps, you got people picking their favorite and it's almost impossible to get a queue. Sometimes you can, but that's only if you're in their Discord DMing a bunch of people trying to be like, hey, can anybody get on? Can anybody get on? And it's like, yo, you'll be on in an hour. You feel me? Like rallying people up. Like, I'm not trying to get a Dungeons and Dragons fucking group together. I'm literally just trying to get a match in. You follow?
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
So I don't know, man. Like, I caution all these people about splitting up the community like that because I understand it, but I also caution them as far as sometimes you got to put the chicken before the egg. You feel me? Like sometimes you might have to put that ARAM map in just so new players have something to do. New players can consistently just go in there and fucking fight. You follow? They don't. So new players don't have, like, let's say a lot of people just honestly aren't good at 5v5 conquest style, right? And a lot of people just don't like that. But I know plenty of people that would prefer a 2-lane map or a 1-lane map and play that shit all day long. And they would still help support the game's numbers, the infos, the data, and everything. So I can see both markets, but I definitely know for a fact that Fault is being cautious because they don't want to lose player base by splitting it up. Now, do you think they should try and open up all these options, or do you think that they should probably continue the way that they're going? I want to hear your thoughts on that.
So right now, I don't think having a new game mode or an ARAM map or the ability to duel in a 1-lane system is what they need to do. What they need to do is possibly revise what they said about not worrying about player numbers right now because they're trying to test. It's similar to what you just said about splitting the player base and losing players. Right now, they are doing a lot of that. They're pushing people to other games and they're getting people just to stop playing. And I think it is down to some design choices.
Okay, so you think that they're pushing people away as is, like currently?
Yeah. When they come out and say that right now we're not focusing or worried about player numbers because we're early access and testing. You remember when I said I
remember the YouTube comment,
Yeah. So that to me, considering they want us to pay for the game to test it for them, and then they say we don't care about player numbers, that mentality will push some people away. And the fact that there isn't things like a tutorial and things just aren't intuitive, like you can do control numbers to spend favor, but where does it tell you can do this? And it's not even in order. Like I'm the third one along. I think it's the green one, maybe. I have to do control 5. How does that make any logical sense? And moving items on your hotbar, drag and hold with the right click. How are you supposed to know that? Why does that make sense? Why can't you left click? Just little things like that go a really, really long way. So I think, if they just pick up the ball on some intuitive things and not rely on the YouTube community for tutorials, or at least have something in game, like you spoke with Mangoose, that in game takes you to the information you need. It would retain some of that player base, because I truly believe during early access, during paid early access, is probably the most important time to build a player base, not worry about it because you're just testing the game. Like, if you just want people to just test the game, give it to us for free, and then make the game buy to play, like £5-10, $5-10. Like,
I get that.
You make a lot more money in the long run.
See, and now that you explain it, I understand the whole not worried about player numbers more, because I remember when we were talking in the YouTube comments. It just came, like, in the YouTube comments, and whenever I was reading it in text form, it came across more as hey, maybe it's a misinterpretation, or maybe like, it's possible that somebody might interpret what they said in the wrong way. But you said something there that definitely brings up a red flag. And it's not even the fact that they said that they're not worried about player numbers. It's the fact that whenever you have people paying to play and test a game, and they're in there, and you hear that they're not worried about player numbers. Now that you explain it, I do agree that it does come across as the fact that they're not worried about retention right now. And it does come across as, hey, you know what? We're raising money and we're still testing the game and working on it. I get why they might have said that, but I do agree that was probably an improper statement to use in the current situation, because they probably meant it more along the lines of, hey, like, we're not worried if 2/3 of the population leaves right now because we're just testing. We're planning on getting those back, right? But I do agree that whenever you say we're not worried about player numbers, it almost makes it feel like, yo, so you got my money and you're not worried about keeping me, so you just wanted my money. You follow? So
yeah, that was my comment on your video.
Yeah. Like, and now that you explain it, I get it. I get it. Like, it does come across as kind of flawed, because if I paid for it and I was like, yo, like, real shit, like, change, like, this needs to be changed, that needs to be changed, or I'm just not going to play the game. Now, let me ask you, where to draw the line, though? Because it's one of those things that, as far as an indie studio, and as far as pleasing the population, like, we already know that nobody's nobody's going to be able to please 100% of the people, right? We just aim for the majority in general. So if let's say if they are worried about retention, then at that point, I would say the first step would be to address problems that the community addresses, right? That's probably step number one as far as retention. But then when they look down the line, where do they draw the line? Where do they be like, hey, you know what? These changes need to be changed ASAP as far as retention? Or like, because I know that they're very objective and keep to their roadmap sort of deal. So it's one of those things that they're like, if somebody complains, hey, the UI is horrible, in their mind, they're just like, new UI coming eventually. Like, we're working on it right now. You feel me? So they're not, and I can see them saying, we're not worried about the player numbers right now that complain about the UI, because a new UI is coming eventually. We're a small studio. If they don't want to play for 4 weeks until we get that new UI in, so be it. You follow? So, like,
yeah,
where do you think that line should be drawn? Do you think they should start paying attention to those little things in cost of retention, or do you think they should just continue with their roadmap? Because one thing that I noticed from them, and I'm pretty sure you and a lot of people might have seen this also, I noticed that whenever they stop their current roadmap progression to address something in the community, for example, the quality of life change with the gold, the XP changes that they made early game and stuff like that, them stopping to do all that delayed the hero releases, they delayed the UI, everything. You follow? It was like a ripple effect. So to what extent should they do that at the cause of delaying other stuff? You feel me?
Well, this is where I'm going to get quite
bro, go for it.
Controversial, possibly.
Go for it, bro. Bring out the fangs. Bring out the fangs. YOLO. Go for it.
You can tell that they are a new company, and I appreciate everything they do. I really do. I love this game. Anything bad or anything angry I say it comes from passion, because I bloody love this game, dude. I bloody love it.
When the precursor comes in before the statement, you know blood's about to be drawn. Go for it. I want to hear this.
I think SMS are trying to make the game theirs, which is fair enough. It is their project.
Gotcha.
I feel like they're trying to make decisions and choices which suits them, which they can say that is their decisions and choices. And I feel like there's a fair amount that are the wrong decisions and choices, because they're trying to make a MOBA. It's like they're using the Paragon assets to make a third-person MOBA, which a lot of people are going to relate to Paragon because it's Paragon assets. It looks and plays like Paragon to an extent.
Gotcha.
But it's these things that they're adding, which are their own decisions and choices, that are ultimately hurting the game because they're more reluctant to go back on these choices and decisions.
Gotcha. Like they're hurting the expectations of the individuals.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And it goes to like what you're saying about should they go back on things to delay stuff? I mean, honestly, they shouldn't have put themselves in a position where they have to work harder than they already needed to. They should have had a solid foundation from the beginning. Like, the first thing before the map got any kind of polish, like the first thing that should have been there is how minions work and how towers work. Like, minions should attack towers and not other minions because that's how it works in MOBAs. Like, if you leave them, it'll go to one tower and then it'll go to the other tower. It's not just like you can't just freeze a lane for as long as you can freeze a lane with like minimal effort. Just silly things like that. And I don't want to get too nitpicky, but you know, a lot of with the unbalancing, like it's normal in a game to nerf and buff something, which creates other OP situations that you didn't even touch. And I think it's SMS just holding on too much to the decisions that they want to make so they have their stamp on it. And I totally appreciate that, but I think they should rethink the roadmap and bring things back to a base level. They need to address things that the community are talking about. Like, it makes no sense to me why you would only have a matchmaking system on NA and not EU, considering, especially now, most of the NA play on EU. Like, if you
just
want
to avoid the matchmaking
data, just have matchmaking on all servers if you want the testing data.
I could see that, and I wonder why they did that, because it's basically like they're using NA as a test, like a lab rat, basically. And they're like, hey, we're gonna test everything here, and if it's not good and everything, then we don't affect the general population. We only affect a little bit. I'm thinking that might be their mindset, but I get you, because in order for consistent data, you need as much data as possible. That's the first thing. And then in order for them to actually get any real progression, I mean, quite frankly, let's be honest, during NA in the mornings, like let's say like right now, NA games, there aren't going to be that many. It's fucking 11 in the morning for me in NA East. But when it comes down to EU, it'll be later in the afternoon. Like, what time is it for you? Like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, some shit like that, right?
Right now it's coming up to 4 p.m. and literally from morning until early hours in the morning, we get games within 2 minutes all day, all night, all day, all night.
See, and one could argue that the reason why you're getting games non-stop is because there is no matchmaking. Because it's just random. And I feel like that's why a lot of people might go over there. And I'll tell you this, I had Masters players. Let me say that again. I had Masters players come up to my stream and ask me, Windu, why are you not playing EU, bro? Why are you waiting 20, 30 minutes for a queue? And this was like 3 p.m. my time, right? They're like, why are you doing that to yourself? And I told them straight up, I was like, because one, if I go to EU, I'm not helping the game. I'm hindering it. Two, as an influencer, as a content creator, as a, good player, I need to make sure that I set the example to other people. Because one of those things that I don't give a fuck if I have to wait 40 minutes for a game and finally get a game in to help improve this. Because if they did what you mentioned and having matchmaking everywhere, that wouldn't be an issue. People would be within their own perspective servers. If it takes 30 minutes, if it takes 20 minutes, 5 minutes, etc., they got more data. Hopefully they can fix that faster, right? But by having people avoid the queue just to get faster queues, I don't know, man. It's almost like saying I want to empty this bucket while consistently putting more water in it. Like it's almost sounds redundant to a certain extent. So I agree with you that they probably should just kind of rip off that Band-Aid, apply the matchmaking everywhere, so they can hurry up and get the matchmaking fixed. Quite frankly.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are complaining about that matchmaking, like the whole like going up against the masters and shit. Like Like, wait, hold on. I want to hear your thoughts on that one. Go ahead.
Yeah, this kind of bleeds into something else that I wanted to talk about, but on that note specifically right now is in EU, me personally, I play at a platinum diamond level, and there is a huge difference between platinum diamond and master, like a huge difference, and that is strictly because of like the small player base. And you know, we're talking about the default player base is killing itself, and it's largely down to the mismatched games, you know. And this is how it bleeds into what I was going to mention. Like, people don't see this paid early access as testing, and
they don't.
People won't see it. People won't see it like that. And it's very similar to when people were testing it before it was early access. And I believe Mike was actually on Fault Hub Network on one of the streams. And he said the best thing about testing it is the fact that we have some competitive games back again. And it's like, well, I mean, are you testing it or are you playing competitively? Because I know you can get some amount of testing playing competitively because you're playing the game. But there's so much stuff that came into the game in early access that wasn't tested because games were just trying to be competitive. And if you just give somebody an empty map and like 2 hours and give them the ability to level up and just go do stuff, they
can find a bunch of shit.
Yeah. Things like Deckard's abilities issues, things like Muriel scaling. Like, why is that a thing? Like, why does Muriel's autos scale
like
so high? Why is that a thing? Was there testing, or did nobody test that? Or did the person that tested it say, do you know what? Just keep that on the hush-hush until early access and let's have some fun. But I'm kind of losing train of thought here. But yeah,
you're good, man. So
the matchmaking thing and the difference in skill levels is really, really splitting the community, because I think it was really good bringing back 5 stacks, but again, you play in EU, there's no matchmaking. We've had it where if our timer goes, if I'm in like a 2 stack or a 3 stack and our timer goes over 4 or 5 minutes, we just come up against a 5 stack, and sometimes it's Snitch and Co. or Neft and Co. And I appreciate those games because it gives me time to see what they're doing and learn from them and try to better myself. But not everybody has that mentality because they want to play a game for fun. They want them dubs, yo.
But you brought up 2 very, very good points, and I do want to shed some light into them as well. Now, on the first hand, the whole, splitting the community, the mismatch games, the community's killing itself. I agree with you to the point that they should probably just apply the matchmaking everywhere. And whether it works or whether it doesn't work, it'll probably provide a better result instead of random ass matches, like, solos going up against a master 5-step, right? So it'll probably be rough at first once they rip off that band-aid, but I feel like they can get more data to get where they want to be faster, as opposed to maybe it taking them 3 months to get there. Maybe in a month and a half they might get there, optimistically speaking, right? Now, the improper testing thing. Now, I will say this, and just to kind of provide a little bit of light, because, not everybody had access to testing. And, like, the thing is, whenever you get people for testing, right, you want experienced players. You want people that know what they're doing, know what they're talking about, people that know values, know how to play the game, know how to execute stuff, so they can tell you this animation needs to be sped up by like 1/4 of a second. Like whenever this rock lands, that's way too fucking nutty. That scales too hard, etc. Now, it's almost like a double-edged sword, because when you introduce that type of player to any game, you're going to get that ultra competitive aspect that comes along with them, because a very, very good player, it's very hard for them to just turn off that competitive switch and just run around the map for 2 hours doing nothing. You follow? Like, even in the middle of testing, a competitive player wants to have that 1v1 in the solo lane. Even in the middle of testing, that, like, let's say they're trying to figure out abilities, you still are going to see them, yo, meet me by the red buff, let's try something out. And they're still fighting each other, you feel me? And I will say that in the early stages of the fault testing, and this is something that was addressed, so this is kudos to the fault team, right? In the early stages, the testing matches turned into sweat matches. Like, because to a certain extent, they wanted to test the game on a competitive level, because sometimes shit pops off in the middle of, you know, like you being in the middle of a team fight, and it might, like, you notice something sometimes as you level up, like, you know, like upgrading your abilities between level 7 and 8. There was a glitch, but you might have not realized until you were in the game. It was clutch. You needed that ability, and it's like, bro, on Sparrow, level 7, it's glitch, bro. It won't even let me upgrade until level 8. You feel me? Like, sometimes little things like that, it's necessary to play out a game to find. But it's also very hard to separate yourself. And I can say it, you know, as myself as a tester and all the other testers, because it really is one of those things. Like for example, do you live stream? I don't know if you actually live stream often. Okay, I got you. So let me put it to you this way: whenever you're live streaming and you're playing a very competitive match, how easy is it to sit there, talk to chat, and think to chat while providing 100% gameplay and farming efficiently, doing everything efficiently to the point where you can actually assess, you know what, CS is too low, EXP is too low, the amount of gold I get from this hero is too low. Imagine doing all that while simultaneously talking to Twitch chat, for an example, or while sitting aside and writing notes and everything. Because in a MOBA, you stop for 30 seconds to write notes, you're already behind.
And you're behind. Yeah.
So I definitely can see both sides of the coin, but I can see that I definitely know that it got testing towards the beginning. It got to the point where it was just sweat matches. It was just literally people that loved the game playing the game as hard as possible, and there wasn't much testing getting done. So there was actually a few testers that were like, you know what? If you need me to test, let me know. But I'm not participating in these sweat stacks for no reason. But Strange Matters did actually decide to go back in and be like, hey guys, we got to cut this shit out. We got to do testing. We're actually in here to test shit. Here's the things of the list of things that need testing, things that have been changed, things that have been implemented. If you guys notice any other things, report them, etc. So at one point, they got their testing methods on point. They cracked down on it, and it's a lot more effective. So even right now, like before Grim and Deckard came out, I was able to test it with some other testers in there. We were able to see Grim, how it behaved. We were able to see certain bugs that happened, and we're like, hey, this is happening. This should definitely be addressed before the release of the game, etc. Which, in a way, like, I don't know if you agree with me, Grim and Deckard, they weren't broken by release. Like, feel me? Some people might have had a few glitches with them here and there, and they can attest that to lack of testing. But it was one of those things that they were behind on Grim and Deckard because of the changes that they implemented earlier. So they wanted to get those out as fast as possible. So we got a chance to test, but it wasn't extensive testing like we've done with some other things in the past. It was a short period of testing to make sure that nothing game breaking was in there. And then the rest they were going to fix as it went, right? So I understand the mentality of like, hey, why are some of these things popping up? But I'll be real with you, man. Like as testers, we've had moments where we literally tested a character for an entire month. Non-stop games, testing. And it wasn't until the first day of like early access that a random bug showed up that hasn't shown up in the past 5 months. Because somebody was able to do the right combo of items, the right situation of placement, they got displaced by, or they got thunked by Narbash while they were jumping over this wall. Now they fell through, like, little scenarios that might have not come across always, but now they show up in early access and people are like, yo, did y'all even test? So there is the whole mindset of, hey, it's not necessarily the fact that it wasn't tested. It's just for the simple fact that more data equals better results. When you got like 500 people testing on a consistent basis 24/7, you're going to get more results as opposed to 30 people testing, at like for like 5 hours a day. So I don't know. I can see both sides. I can see both sides as a gamer, and I can see both sides as a tester in its own, because quite frankly, there's just some shit that couldn't have been predicted. You follow? Like,
yeah. There was some Deckard issues that were pretty Deckard breaking.
Like what?
I thought, like her bubble. I have to sometimes press it about 5 or 6 times for it to show, and her ultimate is when I use it, it doesn't appear, but I get the cooldown.
See, and that's like the thing that's mind-boggling to me, because all that, like, for example, I'm a duo main, right? So you see me play Grim and Deckard the most, and I don't doubt that stuff has happened, but I can tell you that in all my matches with Deckard and in all my matches with Grim, not even to White Knight or shit, I've never come across of, bro, legit, every time I press this button, it's not executing. I don't know what's going on. Because if not, I would have said that shit to him and be like, yo, y'all need to fix my girl Deckard before release. Because for some reason, it's not happening. But I don't know if it's just like mishap unfortunate or just me being fortunate. Because like, for example, you remember the FPS issues that everybody was having? I never had a single FPS issue. My FPS since the beginning hasn't dropped below 140. So I don't know if that's just because the beefiness of my computer, but I know other people with beefy computers are having issues. Like Mangoose wasn't even able to play past 30 FPS at one point. And I was like, I don't get it, bro. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I'm literally playing at like 140 FPS with everything at Epic. Everything, even post-processing and everything. I can get more if I turn post-processing off and stuff like that. And that's why, like, I started telling people, I was like, try this. But I don't know, bro. It's rough. It's rough because I can only imagine the pressure that comes along with that. Like, if I was responsible for that and you told me, hey, this is happening with Deckard, I would just be dumbfounded. I'd be like, yeah, that's the first I hear about it. Like, you feel me?
Yeah.
So, and that probably has to do with the fact that, let's say, like, the average tester was a really, really good player, right? And usually people that are really, really good players don't necessarily have bottom to medium PCs to play on. You feel me? Like, usually the people that like take it hardcore and are like really, really good players usually have on the higher end of mid or just high tier computers. So maybe that was just an issue in the testing, that maybe the criteria of people that were involved didn't necessarily have low PCs. You feel me? And that is one of those things that the more computers they get, with early access and everything, they were able to find out a whole bunch of details and be like, yo, let's optimize for this. Try to optimize for multi-thread processing, etc. Maybe that'll help out and whatnot. But damn, bro, like you got me stumped. I gotta tell you what, you got me stumped, because it's one of those things that I definitely try to put myself in both people's shoes and try to, understand all parties. Because on your side, I get it. Like, especially if you're paying some money for it. Like, I understand. Like, people do need to differentiate that they're paying money to support the company, not to play the game. There is a difference there. But I do get it as to the point that it's like, yo, why are all these things in the game? Shouldn't have they been checked? And if I was part of Strange Matter's team, it's one of those things that it's like, well, I'll be real with you. There's no answer. The only thing that they can do is address it now. Or if they already got stuff that they're working on, just add it to the list and it'll be addressed as soon as possible. You feel me? So, fuck. You got me fucked up just thinking about this. Holy shit. Now, let me ask you. As far as the improper testing, or the subject of improper testing, not that there is improper testing, as far as the subject of improper testing, do you as a consumer, right? Do you feel like if they tested more, they would actually be able to provide a better product? Let's say instead of 1 month of testing a character, 2 months of testing it, instead of releasing a character every, 2 characters every 2 months, release 2 characters every 3 months and just take a full month of extra testing for them. Do you think that would make a difference?
I'm not entirely sure. It would really boil down to their testing process. I think that maybe during the testing they need to have additional types of testers, like people that can just go into a map with like 1 person in the whole map or 2 people in the whole map and just do stupid stuff together. But that actually kind of bleeds in with something I was going to mention earlier before we moved on to it. I don't know what their process for coding is. I know they use the gas system on Unreal, but one of the things that makes OverPrime so much quote unquote nicer and better is down to the way it was coded and maintained, but it was less people doing it. So it does raise a question about,
is that the optimal way to do everything?
Are they doing things the optimal way? Because I mean, they're using optimal systems, but do they have the optimal thought process behind it and the optimal testing behind it? It also goes back to what I said earlier about them putting their stamp on things, and maybe it's not the best thing for the game, but they want people to know that it's their game. And this isn't just me trying to shit on SMS. It's
no, I gotcha.
Yeah.
So let me see. Let me try to joggle the conversation a little bit, because I'm going to use Predecessor as an example here. You remember how Predecessor, when they first released the alpha, how they had that delay?
And it felt like I was skating on ice. Yes.
Yeah, like there was a delay. There was issues, and here's my theory on it. So for, how OverPrime is like coded within their own system and everything, and they got their own servers and whatnot, and at least within their own system it runs fine as intended, right? I can say that Predecessor, even when testing, because I got a chance to test Predecessor before the alpha, right? I got a chance to be there in multiple games behind the scenes. I wasn't able to show anything, and whenever I was playing within their system, whenever getting access was a little bit trickier because they weren't fully like on Steam and stuff like that, and I got a chance to play, it was smooth as butter. I was excited, right? And then on the launch of the alpha on Steam, when all these issues came into play, all this lag, I can only imagine what was going through Smokey's head, because in my head, day one, I was like, this isn't what I was expecting. Like, this isn't what I got to play. Like, there's definitely a delay here. Everything feels good, but not in the best way. Like, it was more of it was that type of good, like you got a present for your birthday, but you didn't really like the present, you know what I mean? So you're like, hey, I got something, but it's not really what I wanted, but it's like, thank you for the socks, grandma, like some random shit, but everything was smooth up until putting it on Steam. And then that's when they realized they have to use the gas system. They had to do it like this. It was going to be harder. They had to relearn. They had to basically learn how to code in a whole new system. Like, me talking with Smokey, it took them almost a year just to get back to the alpha stage that they were at on Steam properly with zero lag. And now they get praised for it. But I don't think people realize that a year ago, when they were the first person to release an alpha, the first parazombie to release an alpha, they got shit on. They straight got shit on. People were straight saying, yo, like, I can't wait for core. This game is a waste of, it's going to be a waste of resources. I'm not even going to support it, because they were judging it based on what happened. And at the hype that they had built up until then was all super smooth. You follow?
Yeah.
So I'd caution to think that maybe they're taking the safe route by taking the harder steps. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because again, like, let's say with Overprime has confirmed that they're coming to Steam. That's awesome. But who's to say as soon as they go on Steam, they're not going to run into all the issues that Predecessor did? And it took Predecessor almost a whole year just to get the 5 characters smooth and the gameplay, the items, and everything. How long is it going to take Overprime to make all that shit smooth with like 20 something different characters, or, like 50 items, 2 different maps? You follow?
Yeah.
So I don't know, because I get what you're saying. It feels, at least to me, it feels like they might be doing it the harder / right way from the beginning. And I've noticed that they have this trend of pushing quality and content at a consistent level. They're not like Predecessor focusing on the quality first. They're not like Overprime focusing on the content first and then applying a little bit of the rest later. You feel me? Like, that's probably why they've gotten a little bit of gripe here towards the beginning of the early access, because like in the early access, let's say like week 1, right? There wasn't an abundant sense of quality. Like, you could tell work was put in, but it wasn't one of those things like you played it and you're like, this is so smooth. Like, this is like the best. You feel me? And there wasn't an abundance of content either, because, items are missing art. UI is lackluster. Little things like that people were like, bro, like, okay, so the quality isn't all the way there. The content isn't all the way there. So what are they doing? But I don't think a lot of people realize that these small companies, they either have to pick one or the other, like Overprime and Predecessor did, or they have to pick a balance, like Fault did, but it's going to take all of them longer, if equal time or if not longer, to get to that stable point where the quality matches the content. Does that make sense when I say that?
Yeah.
Like, I think that too many people are expecting too much too soon. And the fact that they're comparing all the different projects, like we talked about, people can talk about Overprime, like, look at all these characters, look at all these items. People can talk about Predecessor, like, yo, but look at how smooth it feels. But they got a total, literally, they had, like, at least until now that they started adding more, they literally had a total of 20 items. Like, literally, like, every single character in the game shared at least 1 or 2 items by a late game. You feel me? But they had that quality point down. And since they're comparing back and forth, the quality lovers are going towards Predecessor and rooting for that. The content lovers are going towards Overprime and rooting for that. And then you got just the far and few in between that are okay with the steady process, because not that many people are, that are still supporting Fault. But I feel like everybody still tried Fault. But since Fault isn't, teeter-tottering towards one of the two sides, they're trying their best to keep it balanced. They're losing a lot of player base just because of that. Because people don't see anything amazing. Which I'd caution that they might have to do something amazing. Like, if they knock this UI out of the park, that would be good for them. Because you know what's another game that was good at everything, but amazing at nothing? Anthem.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Feel me? It was so... But that's what I'm saying. So many concepts, so many things that were like, yo, that's a good idea. But then when it actually all got implemented, it's like, could have been better. And I'd caution Fault, I'd caution Strange Matter Studios that if they don't apply excellence somewhere, they're going to end up like Anthem. And nobody wants that. Would that be a good analogy? Would that be a good feedback to give to them? Like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, if I'm honest. And a lot of the deeper explanation of what you said literally approaches on a lot of what we spoke about. You know, these small things here and there that could retain player bases. You know, matchmaking and balancing, all this. It makes complete sense.
Now, let me see if I can joggle the conversation here a little bit, because I know me and Mongoose hit on our chat, on our video, we hit monetization a ton. Now, I don't know if you want to go into monetization or not, but how do you feel specifically about let's just say on average, a 6-month paid early access and then free to play? Like when you hear that specific line, what do you think?
Me personally, you know, take my money.
Okay. What do you?
It's
he said, "Take my money." Okay.
Yeah, Paragon is a game I held dear to my heart. It's I loved it, and you know, as soon as SMS put the Indiegogo up, I just signed up for like the second highest, I think, package. It's like, for me, it's a no-brainer. I'm in a position where I can spend the money and it's okay. But
I was about to say the highest was like 1,000.
Yeah, it was crazy. But on a whole, going to the masses and everything, I can see why it's less interesting for people to part with money for that. However, you know, I do think if they addressed a few player retention issues, many more would also not have a problem, because they sold loads of packs on Indiegogo, and I'm sure they've sold loads of packs on Steam, and it is because it's a Paragon game. So, like, yeah,
I can see that.
Yeah,
and I'll say though, that funding probably is some of the difference that we hopefully will see in this new UI, by being able to contact third-party people, being able to partner with like that audio studio to finally provide, you know, like decent sounds. Like, I don't know if people notice, Deckard and Grimm have footsteps. Like little things like that are quality of life things, but it definitely increases your immersion. Like, I don't want to play anybody that's not Grimm or Deckard right now in the dual lane.
Sorry to interrupt you there.
Go.
One thing for me, I'm a massive sci-fi geek.
Okay.
And one of my favorite sci-fis is Stargate. And on Paragon, my two mains was Decker and Gadget. So seeing Decker in Fault, dude, I get orgasmic over
it hit home with you. Bro, that's what I'm saying. Like, dude,
when it comes out, oh man, it's like something really came out.
Bruh,
it's so good.
Bruh,
worth every penny.
Like, it's weird, but for me, it honestly reminds me almost of like those Stormtrooper blasters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not sure if higher quality sounds would have been as easy to attain without some sort of partnership. Like, I know Predecessor has an amazing audio guy. I've gotten a chance to talk to him. And for those of you that don't know, actually, in my Twitch transition, like whenever I change scenes and you see like my overlay come up and then you hear like that lightsaber slash across the screen and everything, in there is like an audio clip that was created specifically for me by that guy as a thank you for supporting Predecessor. And it's such a dope ass audio clip that I was like, yo, I gotta include this somewhere within my genre of content. But their relationship with him is like a partnership. Like, they turn him into a developer. He gets, you know, limited access, or hell, who even knows how they structured it? Maybe even a percentage, because that's usually how fundraising for a company or a game goes. You have to dilute the company in order to grow and get more funding or create a good partnership that might bring better assets. Like, who knows if they might have given him like 1% of the game, and then he gets to create all the audio. You feel me? Like, who knows? Yeah. But I know that as far as Fault goes, I'm pretty sure they don't have like a dedicated audio person in their development team, and that's why teaming up with this third-party company to create those amazing sounds is a great thing, because not only does the funding help provide for that, but I mean, realistically, it almost kind of makes sense, because here's the thing. Like, let's say you're creating audio for your stream, right? Or for your YouTube videos or whatever. By the way, shout out to Matt. Go follow him. So here's the thing. Let's say you're creating all this content and you literally just need, let's say, just audio for your intro. Are you going to hire a permanent person because every once in a while you're going to need audio for the intro? You're going to need audio for your stream transition, but you might only use the audio from that person once a month? Are you going to hire them full time, or are you just going to use like Fiverr and outsource and hire them to, when the job lines up? You follow?
Yeah.
So I feel like as a business decision, it almost makes more sense to just have somebody else handle the audio, and when we need audio, we'll hit you up. But in the meantime, let's say they're working on balance changes, we don't need audio. We don't have to pay you for that. You follow? I don't
third party in-house.
Yeah. A lot of studios do that. Like, whether it be for creating a skin, whether it be for, creating audio, lore, a lot of companies just outsource their work because of their prioritization on stuff. You follow? So I don't know. I think I liked it. I know we got a bit off course of what you were talking about. Sorry, but I'm okay with them using some of that funding for that, because I know a lot of people have been questioning all the money that they've raised. You feel me? But then,
I mean, honestly, when they get the money, I do as you please with the money. That's not an issue at all. Like, we bought the game, you got the money, and you make the game better. That's how it works. That a lot of people do question what I was about to say with the money. I
feel like so many people disagree with what you said, because too many people question it. Yeah, man.
They really do, but they don't understand, because it's only been relatively new kind of news that's been publicly spoken that they are actually using third-party companies to do stuff for the game. And that shit's expensive, so that's fine. People should understand that, and if they don't understand or agree with it, then they should do their research, maybe try get something done for themselves and see what the receipt is. But
so expensive, bro.
Like, yeah, it's ridiculous. But I do think that I don't know if you was recording at the time, but when we spoke earlier about the psychological hype thing, where Predecessor don't really hype anything, so when they do make an announcement, everyone's like, oh shit, yeah, dude, that's really cool. But then Fault have had more hype, so when they announce stuff and then they have to cancel it and delay it, it comes across a lot worse, because they've already set the bar so high.
It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, because they are asking people for a paid early access, that really does affect the views and opinions on the masses, because they've already given you their money, and they'll say, yeah, but it's going to be free to play in 6 months. It's like, yeah, but you've taken my money.
Yeah, like, people want something justifiable, something attainable for the money that they've given.
Yeah People do feel a bit overprivileged when they pay for something, and you and I probably a little bit guilty to that at times too. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
But there's to and fro. There's both sides of the fence. We got to accept that we have paid them money, and they have to accept that we do want something more than delays and stuff like that. Because if they are getting third-party companies to do a lot of stuff, that means they got a lot more time on their hands, right?
True. I could see that totally. Now, the counter argument could be made also that
they're busy.
Yeah, but the counter argument could also totally be made that they're getting third-party companies to do some of their stuff, like audio, for example. But doesn't that mean they're also trying to adjust their schedule to the third-party company schedule? And then they're making
for sure.
And then they're making promises and goals that they're trying to attain and everything. Then maybe they're getting delayed. Maybe the characters got delayed because the audio wasn't ready. Who knows? You feel me? Like, once you start incorporating other factors, I think they should honestly be even more reserved with their timelines. Like, maybe whenever they announce the 2 heroes every 2 months, they probably weren't considering to outsource for audio. You get me? So maybe adding that in there now, maybe they find out, hey, it might take them way longer than we anticipated. Because let's say they structured and they anticipated, I don't know, let's say like a week and a half per character. And they say, you know what? They're like, hey, we give a company a week and a half, they should be able to do it no problem. They got plenty of time. But maybe that company's so busy to get that quality that they want. Maybe they're on back order. You feel me? Because it is very possible. I can reach out to my logo designer right now, the one that made my logo, and people don't realize, again, like you mentioned, how expensive some shit is. Like, getting for my Twitch, my overlays, my transitions and all that shit costs serious money. Like, just for me to design a follow, like have a follow alert designed, which is something super simplistic compared to what these people are doing. It literally cost me $50 just to have a little cartoon Mace Windu come up and slash my logo and be like, new follower and a name. 50 fucking bucks. If I wanted something animated, rigged and stuff like that, it might honestly cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Cause I got a buddy that is he's a 3D art developer, right? And he almost worked for Fault. Cause I actually went to the same school as him, Full Sail. And it was to the point that he told me straight up, like, hey, these are my rates. This is how much. And he basically was charging like $1,000 to $1,500 per character model. No rigging, no anything. Like, this is how much I'm going to charge you just to create a Paragon quality asset. Just for the character. And then if you want me to rig it, you got to pay me hourly. If you want me to do this, you got to pay me hourly. I get paid $60 an hour. And it's like, fucking A, bro. Because I thought about it. I was like, yo, I will fucking get my own hero created. I'm gonna get my own character. There's gonna be a fucking Windu somewhere in one of these games. I don't care if I gotta pay for it myself. And when I realized, like, bruh, real shit, by the end of everything, having a character ready to give to them, that shit was gonna cost me like 10 G's. I was like, holy fucking shit. I was like, I'm gonna be real with you. That's delayed. Like,
it can wait. It can wait.
Yeah, I can wait. Holy shit. No bueno. But God, man, like, I definitely think that there is a huge misconception on that. There's a huge misconception on the cost of things. And there's probably a misconception on both parties, the viewers and the developers, as far as how long it takes to create some of these assets sometimes. You follow? And like the end,
I think there's also the misconception of transparency as well.
Ooh, how so? That's an interesting subject.
Because they try to be transparent, but I think they're transparent about the wrong things. Or they go about it the wrong way.
I could see that.
I would much prefer
like the approach.
To say, look, like, UI is delayed because we paid a third party company to do it for us. They got it done. We asked for X amount of reiterations, and once we got it to where we like it, we now realize that since changing our systems, we are struggling to fix it in. Or I'm not saying that's the problem.
You're giving an example,
and like they can't get it in correctly or something, or they need another reiteration. Because all they do is they say, okay, well, we got it, it's ready, or it's almost ready, it'll be here in a couple of weeks. Because if you go to a third-party company, I'm a former engineer and project manager, right? I give a reliable ETA, and I always put an extra 2 to 3 weeks on that ETA so you can come up short and look like the knight in shining armor. It's marketing, it's what you do.
100%. And that comes across with the biting off more than they can chew. For trying to get shit out faster, I think it honestly has to do with maybe competing with those other companies, because you hit the nail on the head. Like, realistically, when it comes to marketing and doing shit like that, Like if I were to release a YouTube video series and I say every Friday the video is going to come out, I need to start recording that video by Monday. Because who knows what editing has to go in? Who knows if we have to re-record everything? Like, realistically, in anything that you do that has a public view and has an expectation, you have to give yourself leeway to still be the knight in shining armor if you do end up later than what you expected. Worst comes to worst, you finish on time, now you're 2 weeks early, you're welcome, guys. We did that for you. Because perspective matters. You feel me? And that kind of... And I don't like to, step on toes, so to speak, but that kind of comes to one of the things that I talked about with Mangoose. The fact that I don't 100% know if they are considering all these things, if they are giving themselves ample time, like realistic ample time, and setting deadlines and everything, because like anybody with a little bit of marketing experience could have told them that it's like, hey, real shit, when do you guys think that you're going to have the UI ready? For July? Like the beginning of July? Bet. August 3rd, new UI coming. You follow?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
I would have personally said, don't even talk about the new UI. Just say, oh, we're thinking about a new UI. And then all of a sudden, one day you log in, it's like, oh, hang on, what's this gig update? Holy crap, the game looks good.
Bro, yes. Like I can't tell. Like I even said this in the other video. I was like, "Yo, real shit. If you're working on the new UI, don't even mention it until the week before the release. And by that point, it's already done, tested, and ready."
Lower the bar. Never raise it.
For sure. For sure. Like, I learned that shit back in high school. If the bar is low and you do something even average, you're fucking an overachiever, bro. Yeah, but if the bar is set high and you do something great, but you fall one step short, now everybody's looking at you as you could do better, bro.
You failed.
You could do better. I know you could do better. I learned that shit back in high school, bro. Set those expectations low. And as soon as that guy got an A on the test, they're like, damn, okay. You feel me?
Yep.
And it's just, that's probably one of my biggest gripes. And I question it. Because I know as far as marketing managers, they've had different marketing managers and people do things different ways, etc. And, different marketing managers might have different objectives. Like, some of them might want to generate more hype. Some of them might want to be more conservative. Like, that is really one of those things that it comes to your play style, for lack of a better term, in the world of marketing. Because I'm sure you do marketing differently than I do, even though we might agree on some things. But then it comes down to the point that where, like that line, like what is going to be their best fit for them? Because we're recommending all these things, but who knows if it's somebody conservative comes up and now the community is in an outrage because they're not getting teased enough information. Maybe the community's gotten used to too much teasing by now. And if they change their approach now their community might be like, yo, they went from showing us all the things that we're going to work on to now, like, they barely tell us what they're working on. They only talk about it the week before. Which is
wasn't that an issue?
With what?
Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good.
Well,
it's a conversation.
A lot of people complained that they said that they were going to be open and engaging, but then they wasn't engaging enough. And then when they started to be engaging, they were starting to be engaging about every little thing, and people were getting a little bit up in arms about it. It's like, we want to know more about what's going on, not just teasers of item art that isn't final and stuff like that. Yeah, we want to know what you're working on and why. We want to know future beyond what you've already told us. Pull back the curtain a little bit.
I feel like that's probably just came down to a misconception. You feel me? Because like maybe as soon as they heard they want to know more, in their minds are like, oh, here's what we got to do. Or in the marketing manager's mind at the time, this is what we should be doing if they want to know more. But then maybe that wasn't the right answer. You feel me? And let's say the current marketing manager, maybe he feels like, hey, this is how we get the community engaged. This is how we do things. But it's, again, man, it just comes down to play style. Like, not every marketing manager is good for a company. You feel me? People have different ways of doing things. And I just question at the fact that what are they considering when they're finding a marketing manager? You know, with all due respect to all the marketing managers in the past, like much love to them. Like I love them all. You know, they're good people, good content creators, you know, good hard workers and stuff. But again, as far as perspectives, I feel like Strange Matter Studios, as a company, as lead developers themselves, as the owners of the company, they have to sit back and think, hey, what do we want our public image to be? What do we want that to reflect? And I don't feel like they've done that 100% because I feel like they're leaving that up to the marketing manager. Like, hey, make it up as you go. Like if a company came to you and said, handle all their marketing. Well, is there a way that you want me to do things? Is there an approach you want? And they just say, figure it out. Make us money. Or make us look good. You feel me? That creative freedom sometimes is a little bit too much for somebody in the world of marketing because you get the marketer's idea of what the PR should be, not a combined vision between the marketing agent and the company. You follow?
Yeah.
And I don't know how they're going about that. I don't know if they're even considering that, which I would advise them if they haven't, make sure that the marketer that you have working for you has the same interests aligned, has the same vision aligned, because that will make a difference. Not every person that knows marketing is good for your individual company. Sometimes the wrong marketing person can ruin your company's perspective in the PR. And we all know in the world of marketing that perspective is everything. Like you mentioned the psychological aspect. Perspective is everything. I don't like they might have.
Thing.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Go on.
No. You're good. Like I interrupt me as much as you want, man. This is a conversation. I know I can fucking rant. So go ahead. Go.
Yeah. The whole like psychological thing, and especially marketing, because you have to take your like projected company presence and you have to bleed it with your projective clientele. And as gamers in the gaming market, everything is fast now. It's like a gacha game on a phone. Got to have it now. Got to get it. Got to do the next thing. Then move on to the next thing. Got to have it fast. Go.
We're spoiled by consistent content nowadays. You're right.
Yeah. It started in the MMO genres. Like World of Warcraft killed the MMO genre. I try not to go too off track.
No, you're good. You're good. Examples are fine.
Everything became quick. Everything became patch. As soon as you got the content, it's dead until a new patch. And all other games started to WoW clone and take that business progression model. And it really killed it. And it's similar. There's no real decent actual marketing in the gaming industry that fits like the clientele that they're trying to market to. They might have videos and like tweets that connect with people because they're meme-ish or they're comedies and stuff. But you need to do more than connect with them. You have to relate with them, you know. So this is where what I said about the whole transparency and the engagement and everything. It can't just be these little teasers and trailers and whatnot. I mean, that's great. Don't get me wrong. That's a great start. But it
doesn't hit the core people need.
Yeah. There's a lot of people asking a lot of questions. It's like, well, what are you doing with my money? Where is this? Why is this delayed? Why is this way? And, you know, you just need like some PR. Just hit the point. It doesn't have to be a paragraph or an essay or anything. Just get to the point.
And you know what I think is like could honestly solve all those problems that you're mentioning, and Paragon actually started tapping into this, and it was actually a great idea by them. If a developer literally once a week did a question and answer of the top questions of the week, and they went over it, and in that same video included what they just updated that week and just a quick overview, like we changed this, we changed that, blah blah blah. It would not only provide the information that everybody's wanting, but it would also relate, and people start building a connection to the company, to the staff. Because one of the reasons why I started to do the series, the Get to Know series, is because quite frankly, let me ask you. I'm just gonna bring up a name. Let's say Omninaut. You know who that is?
I had one interaction with him, and it was during the Fault Alpha Early Access, the Holiday Access. I made a kill compilation video, and he made a comment saying, "Thanks for joining us." Other than that, I didn't have a clue who he was.
Got it. All right. And let me just, another name. Fresher. Do you know who that is?
No.
Do you know who Jester is?
Only because of Discord.
Do you know who Drake is?
I had Drake. Yes.
Okay. Now, the point that I'm proving, you feel me? There's a lot of members in those teams that are developers, that are the founders, the community manager, hell, even the moderators. There's a lot of members in that community that could easily, and when I say easily, let me reiterate that, easily be able to make a once a week video, taking maybe 10 to 20 minutes of their time going over questions, reading the patch, and saying, thank you guys for all the support. Thank you for the questions. I appreciate the fact that you guys are submitting this information. We want to stay in constant contact with you, and we think that this is the best way to contact you. Seeing a face of the company, seeing like the developers just take that time, or just somebody, hell, even if it's just the community manager doing that, like putting a face of the company makes a difference. You follow?
Like what they do for Warframe.
Good point. And hell, like I talk about Hunt Showdown a lot. Hunt Showdown literally holds weekly Twitch streams where they just go over the shit that they're changing. And they're like, hey, we're working on changing this, we're working on changing that. People ask, how long? Well, I don't know, this and that. But you feel me? Like, it's some sort of community interaction. It's literally just two of their developers going in there, doing a live Q&A once a week, but they do it. You
and
follow?
The most important thing about that is that isn't just people waiting to see that little red dot on the SMS Discord where they've announced something. And it's like, before they click on it, it's like, does it have anything to do with what I want to know? No. Okay, wait to the next one. So yeah, I couldn't agree more. That is literally the best idea I've ever heard.
and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's something that isn't being done. So I took it upon myself as a content creator, as an individual, because I see the need that company has a need to create a relation. People don't know, like before my video, too many people didn't know who Elia was. People didn't know who Ryan Red was. They just see the names. They just see the DMs. They just know, hey, this person did this. But being able to put a face to it, being able to relate, it's just a good way to connect the community with the company. And it's it's I hate to throw jabs, but it's almost sad that an individual third-party person has to come up with this idea and do it for them. Like, don't get me wrong, I appreciate the fact that I'm the one thinking about this content and I'm the one doing the content. It helps me. But why does it take me to do this?
I agree.
You feel me? Like, totally. Why am I making good marketing decisions for them as a third party that's not even involved? You follow?
100%.
Like, it just blows my mind. And I honestly think, like, I have no doubt, like, let's say for like their community manager, Ryan Red, I know Ryan, I have zero doubts that he could come up with ideas like this. But you gave somebody a work list and a to-do list from the founders, right? And then now community interaction with weekly videos might be further down the list. And that might have to get approved by the people above him because he's not a main founder, main developer. You follow? And then, so in order to do this, he needs to get permission access, what can be said, what can't be said, going through all these channels. And now maybe that is an idea that they're working on, but maybe that idea won't actually come out for 2 months. By that point, it might be too late. You get me?
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely like we got to try, as a community, we got to try and see both ways. but I definitely see it as like my personal point of view. Like, if it would have been up to me from the beginning, even if I'm not the one doing these things, even if I'm just a gamer, I would have just straight from the beginning said, hey, do we have somebody that fully understands marketing? Do we have somebody that can take advantage of marketing, that can not only paint a picture, but get people to pick up the pencil and draw themselves? Like, can we have somebody that not only stirs the creativity, but that stirs up conversation? Somebody that not only helps get our image out there, but helps the community provide further content that we can also thrive off of. You feel me? Can we have somebody that activates that light in our community? If we don't have somebody like that right now, we need to get that person there. What do we need to give that individual to align? Because again, still aligning with the company's vision, but what do we need to get that individual the space that we need? Does that person need more time? Does that person need access to people? Like, is that person going to be able, like, because real shit, bro, we both know how easy is it to just sit here and make a 20-minute video, or hell, an hour video. Yeah. How many hours do we have in a week? And we're taking an hour and a half right now to do this. I understand people got their lives, but shit, quite frankly, the way I see it, if somebody has to sleep an hour less, fuck it. You sleep an hour less one day a week, and you got that one content for the week. How hard is that to do?
Well, that type of dedication needs to be part and parcel of the development of the game, because it's not just all about coding. It's also about having that relation with your clientele. You know, one of the things, I can't remember if it's on the website or if it was on a video or in their Discord, they said, you know, we listen to the people. We pride ourselves that we listen and we react. And, you know, like you say, how long it takes to make a 20-minute video. Like, this is something that needs to be factored in to their time on creating the game, because the game without a community is not a game, and it won't be a game. There's so many Parazombies and other third-person MOBAs in production right now. They won't all survive, let's face it. They won't. Maybe 2 will survive for X amount of time, and then it will take that one update that will knock one off the pedestal and game over. So, yeah, something needs to be, a little bit of time needs to be put into it to keep that engagement with the community and help grow the community.
Yeah, and can I just say that, like, you touched on something there too. They stated that they pride themselves on listening to the community, right? And I can say, you know, they do listen to the community. A lot of the changes are based on community feedback. But at least thus far, like, you as a player, how would you provide community feedback?
To like, SMS?
Yeah, like if you were to provide feedback right now, what do you do?
What would I do?
If you want your opinion heard.
I would probably make a video and hope, because beyond that, there is no way to get my opinion heard. I would hope that somebody watched it, because I can voice an opinion in Discord in general chat and it'll be shot down by X amount of people and like agreed with by X amount of people, and then before you know it, it's lost in the ether and maybe no developers even saw it. So,
exactly.
You know, it's 6 of one and 12 of the other.
And you said exactly what I wanted you to say. The fact that everybody can voice an opinion, but sometimes that shit just gets buried, and it's not even their fault that sometimes good feedback gets buried away. Like, I've had comments in my videos where people are like, yo, like, real shit, we feel like you're almost being like a voice for the people, because your voice as an influencer is being heard a lot louder than our messages in the chat. You follow? Which is why I feel like these conversations are important, bringing people in, getting these opinions shared, and the point of views come across and everything. Because, quite frankly, there is no really good way to do so. And even if there was, people don't know where to find it. And that's another issue that I brought up in a previous video. The fact that It's not, I like with them, they actually do a pretty good job of putting the information out there. But it's the fact that people don't know where to find the information. Sometimes people don't even know that information exists. And that's just a lack of education. Simple as that. Like they gotta be mindful that they're not just creating a game. It's not just about creating a game. You are literally, it's weird to think about, but you're teachers. You are teaching people how to play your game. You can't expect to be the next biggest karate school, but every time somebody comes in, you don't show them how to karate. Feel me? Like if you just say, hey, look at other people, figure it out. How are you going to be a successful karate school?
Yeah.
You follow?
How do you think Danny DeRusso crane kicked Johnny in the face, you know?
Mr.
Miyagi, right?
Oh, I feel that. Yo, that's a great analogy because I fucking love that. But so you know what? Let's go off of that. They need to be Mr. Miyagi. They not only need to teach, but they need to show that they know what they're doing. They need to prove that they know what they're doing. And in the movie, you saw Miyagi legit. There was just some times where it's just like, hey man, don't fucking test me. I'm the shit. You feel me? Like a fly, bling, bro. Fuck out of here, bro. Get in my level. But I'm like, what I'm seeing a lot of is these guys know what they're doing to a certain extent because they are a new studio, right? But they know what they're doing. They're doing the coding. They're doing all the things necessary. But I don't see Mr. Miyagi there teaching people.
Yeah.
You feel me? Like for me, it's just as much as and this is kind of hard to do, but like if they put themselves in the perspective of a brand new person to the game, like not like everybody, if they simply just open their game, not with the mindset of I'm a developer, not with the mindset of I'm an experienced player, but if they came into the game with the mindset of I don't know shit about this game, because a lot of people never knew Paragon. A lot of people have never played a third-party MOBA. And quite frankly, if they want to grow, they need to tailor to new players. Only to a certain extent. Don't change your game to new players, but tailor towards the education of new players. You don't change karate just because somebody doesn't know how to play it. You just make it easier for them to learn karate. And if it takes them a while, so be it. Everybody learns at different paces, but the learning aspect is there. You don't change the form just because somebody's new. You follow? Is that a good example based on what we're talking about here?
Yeah.
So I feel like if they literally just went into the main lobby with a brand new mindset, it's like, oh, cool, look at these characters. What do they do? I don't fucking know. I guess I got to go into the game and find out. Now I'm in the middle of a game. Shit, I'm trying to find out what these characters do, but I'm getting trashed on by everybody because I'm fucking standing. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So you just start compiling all these experience negatives, and then it just comes down to it. Like even me just sitting here thinking about it, talking with you, wouldn't that be a horrible first game experience? You got the ass, like you got your ass kicked. You didn't know what you were doing. You didn't know what items to build. You didn't know what the characters did. You didn't even know that favor existed. And after 2-3 games,
what lane to go into and
exactly,
how to ward.
It's just all these things. You think about all that, and me, if that were me, I would be like, man, fuck this. I'm going back to PUBG. I don't even mean to talk bad, but if that were me, I would say, fuck this. TFT is for me. Less effort. You follow?
Yep. A lot of that's already happening.
And you're right. That's exactly what's happening. And I'm saddened because me as a content creator, my whole channel is based off of trying to close that gap. Because that gap is so fucking huge right now. But even if I make content to close that gap, that doesn't mean everybody gets to see it.
Yep.
You follow?
Yeah, that's what I struggle with because I don't get anywhere near your type of views.
And exactly, like I mentioned in the Magus video, like you make good videos. Like I watch your videos. You feel me? And it's one of those things
I
that
appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure, bro. Everybody go follow him. But it's one of those things that so many people, so many videos have been made that you could watch, and if just a new person watched it, you'd be like, hey, yo, real shit, this helped me. Whether it be a last hitting video, like, just, yeah, this was some good shit. I learned I can actually do better at the game now. And the better you do at a game, the less likely you are to stop playing it. That's quite frankly. People shit on games that they are shit in. Simple fucking fact. Somebody that joins PUBG and can't fucking shoot is going to be like, man, this game's stupid as shit. I'm going back to Call of Duty. And it's like, well, it's because it's a hard fucking game to shoot in. You shoot one fucking bullet, your gun goes blah up into the sky. It's just the nature of the game. But if that expectation isn't there, hell, even like in PUBG, putting a practice menu that you can go into and just shoot guns at dummies changed the fucking game. Because people knew what to expect when they picked up a gun. When beforehand, you had to pick up that AK in 37 fucking games, shoot for a total of 10 seconds in each game and die to finally figure out, oh, that's how I gotta adjust the recoil.
Yeah, tap, don't hold.
Exactly, and that beginner experience was horrible.
Yeah.
So even though they were growing, that beginner experience was shit. But once they adjusted to shit like that, they didn't change their game. They just changed the experience of somebody coming in. And right now, PUBG's numbers are actually doing great as far as battle royales. They are. And that's something that, again, a fault along with every other company, Predecessor and everybody, they have to keep that in mind. Because one thing I wanted to talk about that you mentioned earlier, you said Predecessor doesn't hype as much as Fault, right? Might I bring light to the fact that a year ago, it was vice versa. Predecessor had all these streams showing hype. Fault did zero hype. Fault literally just showed gameplay and everybody loved it. And that's why Fault picked up traction. Because Fault didn't hype. Fault just said, hey, check what we got. That was their initial approach to penetrate the market. Let's just show them what we can do. And people's minds were blown. They're like, yo, these guys are serious contenders. Right?
Yeah.
And then over the course of a year, you saw those two different marketing approaches shift. You saw Predecessor slowly become more conservative. And then you saw, I'm sorry, wrong hands. You saw Predecessor become more conservative. And then you saw Fault ramp up more on the hype train. And now when Predecessor came out of nowhere with this amazing game nobody expected, fucking bonkers. When Apex was released and nobody knew about it, people lost their minds at how amazing this game was because there was zero expectation. Zero.
Yep.
When Eminem dropped his last album, people went shit, like hit shit, like they hit, like their expectations hit the wall. They were fucking mind blown. Like this album is actually a lot better than I thought it would be because there was zero expectation. The issue with providing hype and expectation is the fact that it is a double-edged sword. People's expectations for a movie is never going to be as good as the movie unless it just blows them out of the water. And it's one of those issues that a movie with a trailer that says too much or puts up too much expectation of hype or whatever it may be, whenever you get into that movie, you're like, damn, the trailer was better than the fucking movie.
Yeah.
Holy shit. And I feel like that's something that they might not be considering, and I would advise them to do so. But honestly, boy, like we're getting a little bit here, like along that 1 minute and 30 mark, to be real with you. So
yeah,
I would say let's just end it here because we've honestly talked about quite a bit, and there's a lot of feedback to be shared off of these, and a lot of good points being made. But before we leave, like what's one thing you would say? Let's say specifically to Fault, since that is the main subject that you wanted to talk about. Like, what's one thing you would say to Fault and to Strange Matter Studios as feedback?
As feedback, take a deep dive into the favor system, please, and realize that it is a fantastic idea and it's incredibly unbalanced without going on like too long. Yeah.
I got you. So you're me like, so you would say work on the balancing of the favor ASAP.
Yeah.
And I'll agree,
It
like
just
the
feels
favor
like
system is a great
maybe-
idea, but it's incredibly hard to balance.
Yeah, maybe items are too strong with them. Maybe it's the items that need fixing. Maybe getting favors too easy. Maybe, you know, we spoke in a comment about the comeback system, and it's difficult. It's really, really difficult because it's such a great system, but it is really, really unfair.
Yeah, favor almost inherits no comeback. Like the further you are ahead, the further you stay ahead with favor.
Yep.
So I get that. Okay. Interesting. So I mean, honestly, guys, as always, till the next video.